our collaboration. This one's going to be on fitness. As you can see, I've just come from work. I'm still wearing my work shirt. Andy is in his workout gear with freaking kettlebells. I have a kettlebell here for some reason. Actually, this was one I got in 2020 during the lockdown, and I couldn't go to the gym. So yeah, Andy's got more fitness equipment at home than I do. By way of introduction, for those who don't know me, I'm Chris. I run the channel Becoming Myself. And yes, I've been training since I was 13, pretty much constantly, and I'm now 40, so that's like 27 years in the gym. Andy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, wow, you started at 13.
Yeah.
I thought that if you start that young, you'll end up like your bones are not strong enough.
That's a myth, actually. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, we'll go into that in a bit.
You actually see on Instagram, little kids doing like snatches and all sorts of stuff, don't you? So yeah, it probably is a myth. Anyway, yeah, I'm Andy Holt. I've got a channel, Tips and Tricks at Home. Obviously, me and Chris know each other, and we're both into all sorts of holistic self-improvement, I guess. And one of those areas is fitness. So we decided to do one on fitness, and I'm looking forward to this because we've both got slightly different. Everyone's got their own routine, and that's the great thing about fitness. You've got to find what works for you. But Chris has taught me a lot about what he does, and I've started to implement some things into the way that I train. And yeah, we'll be covering some of the sort of basic fundamentals from our own experience. I started training seriously from about the age of 17, proper weight training, if you like. I used to be really into weight training, trying to get as big as possible. So I was considered a bit of a meathead back them days in my early 20s. Now, I'm not so much concerned about the size, more overall shape, but also because I'm into biohacking, which is kind of life extension stuff, there is a conflict there. If you want to get very, very big, the principle of biohacking is about calorie restriction, which flies in the face of growing muscle. So you need to know how to hack it and time it. It gets a bit more complicated, but I think it's fair to say, Chris, that we're both really what we're after is an aesthetic physique rather than trying to get as big and as muscular as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, and to stay healthy, really.
Yeah, and it doesn't take a lot of time. Like I can train in 1 hour a week and hit all the major muscle groups and be in good shape. And, I stay around 10 to 12% body fat. I mean, over Christmas, it went to about 13%, but I stay lean and in good shape all year round. And I think it's an achievable goal for everyone if you do it right. It doesn't take a lot of time. And I think this might be a good time to go to the points, like the key fundamentals we've drafted. So important principles are muscle isn't grown in the gym. It's stimulated to grow in the gym. So the idea that you have to spend hours and hours in the gym and do 2 workouts a day, 7 days a week is not realistic. The purpose of the gym is to stimulate the muscles to grow and then to get out and recover and rest and let your body do the work it needs to do.
Correct. What I'd say about that is no matter how much training you do in the gym, it doesn't grow muscle. What you're doing in the gym really is you're just stimulating the muscle. And once you've stimulated it, the real growth comes in the diet and recovery. And that's why I'd say point 2 is absolutely fundamental. So a lot of people, like I've had a personal trainer for a few years. I'm not using him at the minute, but Adam at Profit, shout out to Adam. He's absolutely brilliant. He's taught me some brilliant things. And I went to his gym I think it was on Friday. I was in his gym and there was a few of the younger guys there and they were asking me, "Oh, you're in good shape. How do you stay like that?" And I had to tell them straight, look, the secret is in diet, right? You wouldn't believe how important diet is. So the reason why I stay in good shape because I train more than you. I mean, that 1 hour a week thing, Chris, we could debate that all day long. It's not what I do, but I know you do that. Some people do that. I have more of a hypertrophy stance where I train every muscle group twice a week, but I don't overtrain it. But the key aspect of it is I do very, very little compared to most people. And the results really is because my diet's tight. And if you don't have your diet and also your sleep, your recovery, it's so important to have those, those points on dialed in, because you can train and train. I mean, just on this point, Chris, I don't know if you've ever noticed that there's people in my gym that I've seen. I've been going to this gym now same gym for about 4 years. And in that time, there's some of the same faces that you see, and they come in and they might do 5-6 days a week, an hour on cardio, the treadmill, whatever. And they've been doing that for 3 years and they don't look any different. In fact, they look slightly fatter now than when they first went in 3 years ago. And you think, well, why is that? If you're doing all that training, why are they not getting any results? And I'll bet it's because the diet isn't on point.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, like I almost never do cardio. Like I dance, but that, frankly, the energy output in that, I don't even break a sweat. It's like going for a walk. So you don't need to do okay, everyone's got their own goals. So, but a person of, say, average build doesn't necessarily need to do cardio. If you like doing cardio, great, go ahead, enjoy it. But it's not what is going to cause the most reward for the time you put into it. And I think a lot of people, like the people who go to the gym and don't change, there's usually they're not training correctly, or they're not getting the right diet, or the rest of their life is, they're putting so much stress on their body with bad sleep and drinking alcohol and stuff like that, that the body doesn't have the resources to change, to adapt. So those things can all hold you back.
I agree. I mean, there's no matter what training split you use or routine, there's lots of different arguments on training split. But there are some fundamentals, I believe you have to train with a reasonable amount of intensity. And because it's, you need some kind of progressive overload, whether that's constantly creeping up the weight. So if I think about how I used to train a few years ago, so when I first started training, I was doing the classic bro split, just battering one body part per day and probably training 6 days a week for like 3 hours at a time. This was when I was 18. You had loads of energy back then and all the rest of it. And that's what I was doing. And I was absolutely hammering it. And it was just dominating my life. I used to, be in there on 9 p.m. every day after work or whatever. At the time I was studying, so it was after studying, had a training partner. And that's what I used to do. If you think about what I do now, it's very, very little. When I go in the gym, I train 3 or 4 exercises, of which I probably do 3 working sets of each. And 2 of them are not really what you class as a working set. It's only that final set where I really, really push myself to almost like 1 rep from failure or almost complete to failure. Now, I never used to do that. I just used to do the bro split. And then another thing that I used to do, Chris, was ego lift. I don't know if you've ever done this, where you're trying to do the whole 1 set, 1 rep max. It doesn't do anything.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I also think it's more dangerous because you're really putting your tendons and your muscles to the very limit of what they can take. And I don't in order to create hypertrophy, that is muscle growth, you don't need to use a lot of weights. You can achieve hypertrophy with long, slow sets over a minute to 2 minutes even.
Yeah.
Versus trying to get it all out in 3, 4, 5 seconds. Yeah, and I would say intensity is the most important factor in there, because that is what you really want to be signaling to your body is, I am undergoing something that I can barely survive, and therefore I need to get stronger in order to be able to better survive it. And this is true for men and women. There is no such thing. By the way, there's no such thing as muscle toning. There's just reducing fat and gaining muscle. The same mechanisms apply whether you're a man or a woman. Just men have 17 to 20 times as much testosterone as women do, so men gain muscle much more easily than women. Women don't need to worry about getting bulky, because that only that it's without steroids, that's pretty much impossible for a woman. What will happen instead is you might gain muscle, which is much smaller. It's 5 times smaller than fat. So you'll probably, even if you gain weight in terms of muscle mass, you'll look smaller because the tissue is actually smaller in size.
I mean, just to point out that this chat here that we're having, you know, it's more from our experience and what we've been doing. We're not actually trying to claim that this is science. I mean, you'd have to do your own science on it. But just on women, when they train, as far as I understand it, they don't need to train with this heavy weight because they respond at lower weights. And between sets, if they do multiple sets, the recovery period in between, the rest period, is much shorter. So I don't know if you've ever tried training with a woman. It tires you because they only need 30 seconds. You might need a minute before you go on to something else, or 2 minutes, because you're lifting heavier and harder, say, more intensity. A woman can get away with responding to less. You know?
Women generally have quicker recovery rates, and I mean, part of that is the muscles are smaller, so it like the smaller muscles recover more quickly than larger muscles, both in terms of between sets and between sessions. So a woman might be able to train the same muscle group 3 times a week versus a man saying twice a week.
So like what you said about intensity as well, I totally agree. I used to aim for, what I used to do was build up to a 1 rep max and then drop down, and I couldn't do anything because the 1 rep would just kill you. And then after that, I started to train with a personal trainer, and the main thing that I learned was how much bad form I had. So it was concentrating on form. And you are right, it's better, rather than ego lift and bad form, cheat lifting, whatever you want to call it, to drop the weight a bit and really concentrate on form. And then, but I still think in terms of progressive overload, you should go from there where you can actually comfortably do your reps at a weight that you can handle, but you don't want to be light. You want to still want it heavy, but you want it heavy enough so you can still control it and do decent form. And then you go from there. The next time you still want progressive resistance, so you might want more weight, but it's always got to be something that you can control and focus on the form. And I think what you taught me then, Chris, when we was having chats, I mean, I've learned that, I've got Mike Mentor's book, and I know about the high intensity, and Dorian Yates was more my style, you know, like what I like to do. I liked his sort of style because he did the sort of, after he did his sets to failure, he did this kind of negative set to failure as well. So that I quite like the idea as well. It was like squeezing the last bit out. But in terms of intensity, I've added that in now. So if I'm at the end of my key lift, I will try and add in that super intensity. So even when you're struggling getting your last one up, if you're doing like a press or something, and then you're up there, and then when you let it down, you're going really slow. And then what I tend to do is try and hold an isometric for a few seconds, and so you're totally dead.
Because all that is stimulating. Like even when you're pushing against the weight and it's going nowhere, and you're pushing as hard as you can and it's still going nowhere, that is actually still stimulating.
That's at the end, isn't it? That's at the end, and you really.
But I mean, like in prisons, people can build leg muscles, really good leg muscles, by doing wall squats, where they're literally just holding their own weight. They're not moving, but the muscles are really working hard, and you can stay there until you literally cannot sit against that wall any longer, and then like you reach failure at that point. So I mean, the idea that you have to be moving a lot of weight is not like, I don't lift anywhere near as much as I used to. I'm much more focused on safety and keeping good form and keeping things safe now. And it's still, I haven't lost any muscle. I'm still, still in good shape, and yeah, I think it's much more important to focus on form than ego.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do try and lift heavy, but it's always under control. So I think I lift. My particular type of training is somewhere in the middle of the kind of more modern hypertrophy training, which is anywhere up to 3-4 sets from reserve, but I'm more closer to 1 set for reserve or 0 sets right at failure on my last set. But a lot of people don't do that now. They've asked, no. Oh, someone's asked about steroids. Never took steroids.
Yeah, me neither.
Lifetime natty, to be honest. I mean, that's another one. The other thing is that me and Chris do as well, and this comes back to the biohacking. So as you start progressing through life, just on steroids a minute, you might need to take steroids or even TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, if your testosterone is in the gutter. Now, because we practice, if you get your diet on point and your sleep is on point and you're not drinking much alcohol or no alcohol whatsoever and you're living a really good life, you can keep your testosterone high enough where you don't need to take any of that stuff. So I've managed to keep mine at a really good level naturally. So I've never needed to sort of go to steroids. Obviously, if you go in steroids, you can get a lot bigger, a lot faster. You'll probably shed weight a lot fast, a lot quicker, and a lot easier. But it's just not something that I want. I want to stay natural. I don't know about you.
And I think there's like long-term risks that it messes up your hormones. It can mess up your hormones for a long time, even if you're careful. I mean, and frankly, I think the vast majority of men have enough natural testosterone capability, even if they have to change their lifestyle to get it out. Like most men have plenty of natural testosterone to build a naturally good body. And what if
steroids?
Yeah, okay.
Right.
I'm not okay. So neither of us are medical doctors, so nothing we say here should be interpreted as medical advice. I don't think that's a good idea. I know, there was one fitness model who she looked absolutely amazing, and then she took steroids, and then she got really big, and her voice got manly, and it was you just when you heard her speak, it was like, oh my gosh, this does not sound like a woman anymore, and it's not good. It's not good when that happens.
I don't have any experience with women. I know guys that take steroids, but I don't have any experience with women that take steroids. I know it does happen. I presume that that's kind of at the late levels of performance where you want that kind of thing. I can't see it being done for many casual reasons, but it does happen. I don't have any. By the way, one of the best channels for steroids, if you want to, is just
More plates, more dates.
More plates, more dates. Yeah. Derek, he's probably got the best advice on steroids from what I've seen, and he's really open about it too. So I'm sure if you want more advice on steroids, I mean, me personally, I'm too much into biohacking, and obviously biohacking, you could add part of biohacking is to look at your testosterone and TRT, but I just want to get there naturally. So I always get my bloods checked. I always check my testosterone level, make sure I know how to adjust things like diet and supplements to sort of maximize. But essentially, if you get your diet on point and you're living right and you're training well, the other thing to keep, we're getting into testosterone now, but the other thing to keep your testosterone up is just multiple small wins in life, whether it's what you want to do, goal achievement. They give you little highs. There's a lot of research in terms of the animal kingdom, the apes and alpha male apes fighting for dominance. The one that takes over the previous leader, their testosterone rises, and the one that gets beaten, reduction in testosterone. So yeah, there's little small wins and having your diet on point. There's another comment. Are you in the UK or US? So I am in the UK.
And I am British, but I live in Poland.
Yeah. So all in the States. But we have friends from the US and some guys in Mexico City that I do some. Yeah. He does sound British because he's from. A little kiss there as well for you, Chris. One of your fans.
I don't know who that was to, but okay. We both should sound British.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, you're very obviously northern. So like, I think you're getting all like the Ned Stark kind of Game of Thrones, like reminiscing. Okay, where were we going with this? So we went off on some questions, but
I think we're talking about the intensity thing, Chris.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, let me just start. I saw in the last few days someone posting a video saying like, "Oh, gym motivation," and they were just like there with these stupidly light dumbbells doing dumbbell curls, and I was like, that's not going to do anything. Like I think if I almost never train my biceps. Okay, I'm wearing a shirt. I've got biceps. I don't directly train them. My biceps get trained when I do like lat pull downs or chin ups or pull downs and rowing movements. You need to be moving a sufficiently heavy weight over a sufficiently long time to create a stimulus in the muscle. And I can do this. I can train intensity to hit it in one set. It takes, I'd say it takes some time to get to know where the limits are, because you have to push past the point of, oh, it hurts a bit, to I really want to stop, to I am telling my muscles to move and they're not moving. And that's the point of failure, which I want to get to in order to create stimulus. And it usually takes, it can take a few years to learn how to do that. So I don't oppose people doing more volume until they get there. I mean, but for me, I cannot possibly do, if I go all out in one set, I've got very little for another set. I might do a set in like a minute. And then if I try to do another one, even after like a few minutes rest, I might only get 20 seconds out. So my muscles are completely gone by the time I've finished one set.
You're being labelled there, Chris. Yeah. I'm just going to add there, you mentioned I wanted to talk about this because, you talking about doing your biceps. I don't either. If you look on the thumbnail, my biceps are not huge, but they're pretty good. But I don't train them directly, right? I very rarely train arm isolations, and I don't think you need to. And what it always reminds me of is I see this a lot in the gym. So you get these young guys coming in, they might be like 18, 20 or something. They come in the gym. First thing they do is go up to the mirror and start doing arm curls like this, like every time doing arm curls, you know what I mean? And they're getting nowhere. I mean, you wouldn't say anything to them, but the amount of time that they are wasting messing around doing arm curls, you know what I mean? And it's just like, why are they doing that? When you start developing a kind of decent training split, you realise that you really want to focus on efficiency. So you don't want to overtrain because you want sufficient time to recover it. And the only time I ever do isolations is after I've covered the core compound lifts. And that might be a little bit of top up here and there. So, the idea that you come in and do arm curls, you're not doing anything, you're just wasting your time. If you've done everything right and you've done all your core compounds and you've covered all them off, then and you've got a bit more energy and you're not tired and you can recover very well, then by all means do some arm curls, but not before you've done them sort of things. Yeah. And I'd also say that the arm isolations, they're more for like when you're really at the edge of, the peak form, like if you're right at the top and you've done it, once you've covered everything else and the gym is your life and you don't have to work and you've got plenty of time, maybe do some arm curls, but I just do not train them. I do what you do. I do wide bar pull downs, I do close, all this kind of thing, and it's all in the compound lifts. So I train lower upper. I do lower upper.
Yeah, lower. I'm the same. I'm the same split. I do like lower body and then upper body. And with lower body, I basically want to do some sort of squat movement, or a lunge, and then also a hip hinge. So a squat, a squat or a leg press or a Bulgarian split squat. Sorry, I can't speak. A squat, a lunge, or a Bulgarian split squat.
Some kind of single.
Yeah.
Block. Yeah.
Yeah, or like, and then for a hip hinge, like a deadlift movement, a leg deadlift, single leg deadlift. And that's pretty much, you know, I've now covered most of the muscles in my legs. And then another workout I would do upper body. So I would try to do like a push movement outwards. I sometimes do dips, like, which is a push movement more downwards. It's like the same muscle groups as the chest press, but slightly different angle. And then a pull movement, so like a pull up or a lat pull down, and also a row. And then I've covered the entire body. And you can literally do 4 or 5 exercises.
Well, I was just going to say that, Chris. Joe Delaney, who's one of the best natural trainers, and I love his channel. He's got a video on if you only do, it's like the 6 exercises for the full physique. There's only 6 exercises.
Yeah.
There's a vertical push. He's got a vertical, horizontal.
Vertical push, probably include that as well.
Which I would argue you don't need to do that much of, right? He's got that. He's got a kind of horizontal pull, a vertical pull, a hinge, and a squat, and that's it.
Yeah, but the thing is, for most people, if you took like the average person and you got them to clean up their diet and just do those 5 or 6 exercises, they would have a better body than 99% of people. Like it's so easy to do if you just. It's not about time. It's about doing things correctly in a small amount of time, and then having the lifestyle and the discipline around food.
I'll bring that comment up, but I was just going to ask. The only arm isolation, the only isolation I do is lateral raises, you know, for your side delts, and that's it. You know, this is a good one. Go on, you can answer that, Chris.
Okay, do fit guys date chubby women asking for a friend? I tend to date women who are also in shape, because that's what I am. So I want someone with similar lifestyle, and that's what I'm attracted to.
I think the answer is yes, because I've got a friend who does that. He's really in good shape. He's a massive, muscly guy, and he likes larger women, you know.
It happens.
The thing about attraction is that everyone's got their own taste, right? I mean, me, I like a anorexic. It's just my taste, you know.
I don't think I've seen the girls like. I wouldn't say they're actually anorexic. They're skinny.
No,
but
taking the mickey. I just, you know.
Okay, we're not promoting anorexia.
No, we're not. We're definitely not. One more I wanted to talk about and I did this it's almost like when you're young and you're starting to train, you have to learn these things, right? And there's a lot of more ego there. And so I was in the gym, I think it was last week, right? And there were some young guys in, and one of them was, he was training, you know, he was actually doing something useful. He was doing trap bar deadlift, which I think is possibly one of the best exercises for return on investment and safety in terms of it's very safe and you'll get a lot out of it. So he was doing trap bar deadlift, which is quite a useful exercise. But even though he was young and he had, you know, he had a lot of power and energy, we know that. Okay, try and stereotype Russian women, we know. We don't have many fat women, I like that. That's a brilliant comment. So this guy, he was doing his trap bar deadlift, but he was carrying a bit of weight around here, right? He was a young guy, and his mates come in, and they come over and said, I saw you, you were in McDonald's the other day, scoffing your face, and the lad turned around and he went, I'm allowed to have a cheat meal. Like, I run 10K 3 times a week. I can have as many cheat meals as I want. And I thought, obviously you don't say anything, but I heard this and I thought, how misguided is this young individual? You can run 10K a day, but if you eat that stuff, it won't do anything to your body. You know what I mean? The idea that you can have as many cheat meals as you want because you run 10K or whatever, there is an energy balance here. So
Yeah.
if you look at, if you spend an hour on a treadmill, how many calories are you going to burn roughly? I don't do it, so I don't know, but I'd imagine less than 1,000, probably a few
500.
hundred.
I think, yeah. I mean, if you're going really intensely, like 10 calories a minute is a good amount, but like I think most people get like 400, 500 calories in an hour.
Yeah, in a session at the gym. So if you equate that 4 or 5, you can wipe that out with one McDonald's. Or,
more than that. Yeah, like I mean, it'll more than wipe it out. Yeah, you can do 2 hours of running in one. Like, say you've got like 1,000 calories. That's more than 2 hours running.
Yeah, one piece of cake will just kill that, right? So this is why diet is really important. No matter how much exercise and how much running, and you see these people doing like loads of sit-ups thinking they're going to tone their abs. It won't work. Firstly, because your body doesn't lose fat locally in areas that you train. It loses fat globally. So, it's just an energy balance. You need to consume less calories than you're burning, and then it will lose fat from everywhere all over. No matter how many sit-ups you do, you're not going to get a toned stomach before you get a toned rest of you. Some people, depending on your body composition, some people burn. I tend to go really lean in my shoulders. Like, look at my arms; they're super veiny. They're always veiny, no matter what kind of body fat I'm in. So I'm always like really lean around here. Last to go is always this bottom bit here, isn't it? I don't know if you have that.
Yeah, it's the same. It's like the place you put on fat first. Like as a man, like most, as well, in my experience anyway, I put on fat first on my stomach and lose it there last.
Yeah. So no matter how many sit-ups you do, it ain't going to make a difference to that area. The only way to do it is the calories in, calories out. It's the only way.
Yeah, and the thing is, it also makes it really like like when I have lost my visibility, it's very quick to get it back because the only place I've really put it on is around the abdomen. So like within a few weeks, I can go to like 10% body fat again, and I'm ripped.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a huge. I said it on the last live. There's a huge difference between like 18-19% body fat and 10-12% body fat. It like your face, like you said, you lose fat everywhere, and your face looks so much better when you lose body fat. Add 10% for a woman, but I've just given the male reference ranges there. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, everything is on my hips. Woohoo! Yeah, it's that happens. Okay, I think we're doing matchmaking.
There we go.
Bill meets. I can't read the relic.
Can we just cover this a minute? Just bring up Bill's comment again. So there is a trend now about thick girls. I get that. So there's the kind of, for me, there's in the women, there's two kind of bodies that are attractive. One is the super thin, chic. I'm going to say, well, I don't want to say that word again, but the ridiculously thin girl. And then the other one is the gym girl. Who and a lot of girls, they're trying to work up the behind, aren't they? The glutes, because when I see girls in the gym, I always take the piss me and say, they train glutes 6 days a week, don't they?
Yeah. I used to think, oh my gosh, that's so stupid, like, and so superficial. Why are they doing that? And then you like, I can't complain about the result. Like when there's a girl who's just like, I saw a girl in the gym the other day. She's just skinny everywhere, and then just like these absolutely amazing glutes, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, I can see what she's done that.
Yeah.
There's no complaints from anyone.
That seems to be the fashion now, doesn't it? This shelf there, like, but
yeah. I mean, it's in general, it's like a small waist with a large behind is generally attractive to, I think, most men.
Yeah, I think that's kind of ingrained in the whole evolution, isn't it? The childbearing hips thing.
Yeah. Okay. What shall we go to next? If you guys have some fitness related questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we can cover them.
Maybe we could talk about diet, Chris, because if you think about diet, I do believe that it's 85% of your results. Well, your diet and recovery, it's 85% of your results. So providing you get the stimulus right, so you need a decent split. I do lower upper twice a week. I also train martial arts as well, but I tend to try and train 4 days a week. Sometimes I don't get that many in. Sometimes I train 5 days a week. But when I train, I'm only training a short amount of time, 3 or 4 exercises, that's it. I'm not doing loads. I'm not trying to do like the old bro split where you have to do, when you do your chest and you've got to do about 6 exercises, you've got to do horizontal, you've got to do decline, you've got to do incline, you've got to do flies, you've got to do, I don't do any of that. I probably do 2 exercises on chest, that's it, if I'm doing it. And then once you've got your split in order, having your diet perfect it's not actually that difficult. Intermittent fasting, yeah, is really good, but it doesn't. Intermittent fasting is a tool to stop you overeating, and also to drive cell renewal through autophagy. But whether you do intermittent fasting and eat 1 or 2 meals a day, or whether you do eat 4 meals a day, what really matters is the total calories and the amount of protein. So what you want to do is, on your diet, focus on protein. As a guy, you want to be getting somewhere between, I think science is at least more than 25 grams of protein, up to about 50 grams of protein per meal. Ideal. You can go more, is good enough, because if you go less than 25 grams of protein,
it doesn't get
it doesn't get metabolized. Your body then will use it for it'll convert it into glycogen, right? Because there's not enough, so you need enough. But all I do is focus on protein and just eat protein and vegetables, protein and salads. I don't even eat that many carbohydrates. If you do eat I prefer a low carbohydrate diet, which is almost like a fake fast. It's similar to fasting, because you're fasting from the carbohydrates. If you do eat carbs, you want to eat them at night, because what you're doing is topping up your muscles with glycogen, so it's free. So if you train in the morning, usually when you train in the morning, you're not burning your breakfast, you're burning what you ate last night that's stored in your muscles ready for energy. But I generally go low carb anyway.
Yeah, and I would say the thing about carbs at night is carbohydrates also function to shuttle tryptophan into the brain. So that tryptophan is an amino acid which converts to serotonin, which will basically help you fall asleep. So having the carbs late that's why, like, if you're tired and you have carbs at lunchtime, you feel like taking a nap in the afternoon. So
this is what we spoke about on our last one, Chris, about when we talked about parole, and we talked about if you had a parole hearing after lunch, you're less likely to get a favoured outcome.
Yeah.
Because the judges are half asleep because they've stuffed themselves with chips or whatever they've had at lunch. We all have this vision that judges are all overweight, don't we? But that's why.
Yeah. I mean, I find I try not to eat too many carbs at lunch, just because I can't concentrate in the afternoon because I'm falling asleep at my desk. So yeah. And I think the guidelines are for protein for people who are trying to build muscle between 1.2 and 1.8 grams per kilo of body weight per day.
Well, it's a pound in it, or
no, I think that's the 1.2 to 1.8 per kilo.
1 gram per pound.
You can. I mean, people go higher and it's fine, but you don't want to go below 1.2 per kilo, because then you're not going to have enough to build muscle after training, and then effectively your training is going to waste a bit because you're not going to recover as well.
I'd be going 2 per kilo myself. I mean, typically I aim for about anywhere between 170 to 200 grams a day. I usually get 200 grams a day of protein, and then I fill in the rest with literally all I eat. So if I eat 3 meals a day, I'll eat generally organic meat or fish, chicken, something like that, and just veggies or salad, or I'll eat like eggs, maybe with some fish and a bit of salad or something like that, or a bit of vegetables, and that's it. I just repeat that, and you can literally live off steak and veg 3 times a day. If you can afford it, you know what I mean? Just steak, veg, 3-4 times a day. You'll if you can afford to do that, you'll be bang on. It might sound boring, but you get used to it, and I quite like it actually. And it just makes all your training and everything easy. I mean, the other one is as well on supplements. There's not really much you got to do. The only one I would suggest, we talked about it last time, Chris. I would say creatine, glycine, collagen, them as a minimum. And then you want your others, you want to check your bloods, take D3, K2, all the rest of it. And there's some other vitamins as well that you can take, like you want to take your B vitamins and things. I mean, there's a big long list, but you can get a lot, like B12, obviously it comes from meat. If you eat a lot of red meat, you squirt off there. There's also a lot of creatine in it. But yeah, having creatine monohydrate, I think it's pretty safe. There's like 30 years worth of research. There's no issue with it. I think that's pretty safe to have.
Yeah, and it also helps a load of, like, it helps you think more clearly. It's really good for like everything. So
that's just fasting and a low carb diet, Chris.
Yeah, yeah.
Eat all around.
Yeah, I would also say in addition to those, I think having omega-3 is really important, because people tend to have too much omega-6 in their diets, and having more omega-3 is better for you. Particularly check out the I think it's the DHA and EPA ratios. You should, like, that's the good parts of the oil. So try to get the best bang for your buck you can.
I think the omega-6 a lot of it's coming from like
soy and stuff.
Yeah, like bad seed oils and shit that they put in our diets now. Well, this is the problem, right? You don't want to eat a classic Western diet. You want to go back a bit more. You basically eat a whole foods diet, right? And that's it, whole foods. So it's things that you cook from raw ingredients, and just stick to that. Thing is, not everyone can do it. So what I do, right, here's an example. When you're out on the road, everyone thinks, well, I can't do that. I've got to go to work. And so if you're out and you're working in an office and you're in a city and you think, what do I want for lunch? Everyone goes for a sandwich. Don't get a sandwich. Here's what to do. Go and get a pack of cooked chicken and maybe a pack of cooked boiled eggs. That will be far better than having a sandwich. So cooked chicken, cooked boiled eggs, forget the bread. Just eat loads of that stuff. So you can always find this in a service station if you're out on the road. So when you see, don't go into McDonald's, just go and get, already cooked chicken breast, just scoff that and eat some eggs. And you'll be all right. That'll do you just for the day. Just make sure you hit your protein amount. If you're really desperate, get a protein drink, And there's another one we should talk about, protein powders, because they do come in. So if you're really struggling to hit your protein amount, I think it is okay to eat protein powders, but I would much say it's far better to eat actual chewable food, real protein, than it is protein powders.
Yeah. And also protein powder, it is very bioavailable, but it also just goes through you like really quickly. Like it breaks down really quickly, and if your body's not ready to use it there and then, you might it'll just convert to carbohydrates.
Probably something else we should talk about, Chris, is alternate diets, like plant-based and things. So
yeah,
I've got a bit of experience in cooking plant-based, and I am not plant-based myself. I do believe in, we're not talking about the kind of the reasons. Apologies, I'm recovering from a bit of a cold, actually.
Yeah, don't die.
It's all right. So we're not talking about the reasons for going plant-based or anything, but if you are on a plant-based diet, or even like a vegetarian diet, so if you're vegetarian, obviously you can eat cheese. If you're plant-based, you can't. It's different again. And there are lots of people out there. I've got some books on. There's one of the most difficult cooking books that I've got is trying to be keto and plant-based. it's the most, you really have to you really have to know food to get that right? So if you are plant-based, there are things that you can do. There's certain proteins that are really super high in protein, like 80%. So the actual macros on them look really good, but what you find with plant-based protein is they don't quite have the right aminos, and one of the ones like leucine, they probably don't have leucine in. So you have, what I would say is you can get a separate leucine powder, you know, like a supplement. Just drop some of that in with it. You know, make sure you're getting your macros. I'm not an expert. I've just tried to help people that are on that kind of diet, and I've pointed out, my personal trainer's got a nutritionist friend who went through it with, and it was like, right, let's buy some leucine to make sure you get that amino, because as good as they are, them vegan protein powders, you know, they look good. Unfortunately, they're not going to give you quite the amino profile that you will get from, say, organic beef, right? So, you know.
Yeah, and I think this is why if you're vegan or vegetarian, well, if you can eat eggs and cheese and stuff, then you might be okay. But if you're vegan, certainly you're going to have to eat more, even more protein, because unless you're topping up with leucine, you're not going to get enough of it. And leucine, I think, it messages a whole bunch of things in the body. So that's a really important amino acid to be having.
Yeah.
Not something to worry about if you're getting meat and dairy, but if you are lacking in that, then yeah, you might need to look into that.
Just on the meat and dairy as well, you know, I would always try and get quality. So if you think about, like, I'm low carb, so obviously more fat. I always try and get my fats from plant-based fats, so like oils, nuts, avocados, that kind of thing. So try and get your meat lean, and if you can afford it, try and go organic. I just, you know, especially the one thing you should definitely go organic on is eggs, because they're not that much money. I just don't like the idea of chickens being shoved in a barn, you know what I mean? No. I think if you get organic eggs, I think you can tell with the yolk, you know, the quality of them, they just look so much nicer. So I always try and buy organic eggs. I always try and buy organic meat where I can. It does cost an absolute fortune. I mean, the problem in society now, if you look at the cost of a chicken compared to what it used to be, even just a couple of years ago, they've gone up like 2-3 times the cost of them. It's absolutely ridiculous, but you know, that's what you've got to do. You know, you've got to have, but if you're eating good quality sources, then that's your best bet. But yeah, you're right, on the plant-based, it's just a bit harder. You need to understand. The other thing with plant-based as well, which helps a lot of people, they struggle for vitamin B12, which you get a lot in meat. So you need to make sure, if you're deficient in the, just have your bloods done. And one of the things you can tell with vitamin B12 is look at your nails. I think there's a few things, you can Google it. If you get lines vertically down your nails, I think you're B12 deficient. If they go the other way, it might be like B6 or something, I don't know, but yeah, you can tell. So yeah, diet is important.
Yeah, I think we've covered the fundamentals of intense training, good diet, good recovery, as well as fielding a bunch of questions. So yeah, maybe we don't want to go on for like 2.5 hours like we did last time, because nobody watched that. So maybe we should cut it about here. Yeah. Thank you to everyone who joined us. We hope this was useful to you. And if you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments and we'll try to get to them after this.
Yeah, maybe Chris, just say, yeah, if you want to get in touch, like, I mean, I run a biohacking meetup and I've got some diet plans, which I do help a few people just in Excel. And just to like the meals that I eat, they're all at least 50 grams of protein per meal. Yet they're within 500 or 600 calories each. So you can actually eat them 4 times a day and still be in a deficit. If you're a guy, of course. If you're a girl, you have to cut them back a bit more. But just learning the diet like that, you know what I mean? Just meat, veg, meat. And I've got a load of recipes that are just like, they actually taste really good. They're really quick to prepare. And they're super nutritious. And you'll get your your macros, and then your micros. You obviously get through your veggies, but you have to get your bloods done, so you might need to take some supplements as well for that. But yeah, if you have any questions, just put them in the comments or hit us up. You can go to our channels and just ask us directly. Find contact details. We'll be happy to help. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks very much, everyone.
Chris,
and see you again soon.
Chris, what we should do in the future, just before we finish, maybe next time I'm in Warsaw, we'll go and do a training session and film it and show these lines.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, cool. Thanks, and